My name is Missy, and I'm a fund manager, also syndicator, but mostly on the fund manager side. I help mostly high net worth business owners and also executives passively build their alternative income stream. And sometimes I work with Brian in helping fund his opportunities, even though we haven't found an opportunity to work together yet, but it's definitely on the horizon. And it could be other opportunities. So if you know operators just looking for funding, experienced operators, we love to work with them. We also place passive investors funds as well. Like right now, our deal is about 14 to 16% annual interest paid monthly. So pretty attractive in current market, and it's real estate backed as well. Do you want to do a brief introduction? Probably everyone knows you already, Brian.
Yeah, I think so. I buy apartment complexes and I raise capital to do that. So we do everything, manage the deal, find the deal, operate it, and then we help passive investors get involved, have a piece of ownership, and remain passive and focus on their main income stream.
Cool. Awesome. Well, this event wouldn't be possible without our sponsors. First, I do want to thank you, Mike, for speaking, but also supplying the room today. And for Waco Title's generous sponsorship as well. Brian, would you like to come up and just say a few things about Waco Title, even though everyone knows you guys? But
oh, yeah, we've been here for a year now. So. No, thank you to everyone. Been coming for about a year now. So Brian and BC's events, and we actually hosted one at our office a while back. We're a title company that our commercial division is here in Northwest Arkansas. I'm in Rogers, and Darren Owen over here is one of our attorneys in the Johnson office. So a big presence here. We do have an agent in Kansas City actually who does deals up there, and we're also down in Fort Smith. But we are really a regional company, licensed in Arkansas, Oklahoma, Kansas, and Missouri. I've done deals regularly all across Arkansas, all across Missouri, and I'm getting into Oklahoma recently. That's a fun market. Any of you who've done deals in Oklahoma know it's just a wild west over there, and they kind of do things their own way. But we're entering in to try to disrupt that, especially for y'all in Northwest Arkansas who are used to the customer service we provide and the companies here. We're going to try to extend that in Oklahoma because they certainly do not go by the same pace we do. So we're excited about that. But yeah,
I can attest to that. They helped us close a 20-unit, $1.5 million sale at the wire last year. So we really wanted to get it done in 2023, and they were working through Christmas break and pretty much right around New Year's, and just to make sure that it closed in the 2023 calendar year, so we didn't have to get into 2024 and file another K1 and get another taxes. So that
there was a company involved that we were working with that said that they're too busy to get it done in 2023. We stepped in and said, well, we can do it if you want to send it our way. And magically, they got it done in 2023. So we pressured them a little bit there to get it done. But the most important thing is that Brian and his team got it done last year. And so they're taxed in and help them tax-wise. So we're always here to help. If you have any questions, please go and reach out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. We got two Brians in the house today.
I'm really confusing.
Yeah, cool. Well, thank you. Thank you for the sponsorship. If you're interested in sponsoring, just let either Brian and I know. Well, send you the details. Now, let's move on. The key part of our presentation and program today, I'd like to welcome Mike. And he's going to introduce himself as well. But, you can kind of let the title of the topic today speak for itself. His top 10 systems that creates billions of dollars in real estate transactions. He's an entrepreneur. He owns multiple companies, from brokerages to title companies to mortgage companies. And I lost track at some point. But he has a slide he's going to show you. And I think when we brainstormed what to talk about, that was the topic that came to mind. Systems is really what scales entrepreneurs, their businesses. And it's something we want to really have a deeper look at under the hood. So hopefully he spills all the beans tonight. And we'll get to ask tons of questions. And if you don't have any other questions, we're going to let Mike get started, and I'll pull up the slides here.
Yep. Well, thanks for having me. I'm going to give away $25,000. How's that sound? Good. So who can name what states Waco is in?
Texas.
Arkansas,
Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri.
Is that right, Brian? That's right. All right, good. You get a first $25,000. So we are not in Waco. We're not a part of Waco, Texas. Yeah. Waco actually stands for, it was Washington County Abstract in 1885, and as it expanded, we just shortened the name in order to make it more regional. So yeah, we're not in Texas. And who's seen Tony Robbins before? Oh my God, his energy. Just so you know, up, down, up, down. So, hey, how do I not make you get up, down? But provide some fun. fun. So we actually have two more $25,000 to be given away. So make sure you scratch those while you're here. But hopefully you guys, just so you know, there's gonna be 10 of these, and I could have wrote 30 of them when you think about it. So how do I condense it down to 10? So I would challenge all of you, take one or two that resonates with you. We'll get through it, and I might just cover one of them. I have a 24-hour rule, but maybe we'll just so you know too, I do a bad job of thanking people sometimes. My lovely wife, Cody, if you see her, she's really the machine that keeps it going. And also some of our agents are here and business partners, Susan and everyone else, Keller Williams, we're blessed to be in business with them. If you don't know, Keller Williams' values are God, family, business. So hopefully that resonates with you today. We'll kind of go through. Well, good. There's my contact information. And just so you know, hopefully everything you do is a strategy. So look at my mobile number, 586 home. Just so you know, that's branding, that's recognition, that's communication, that's taking those extra steps. And our office line is 616 home. Is that a strategy? That's something you want to talk about. Is that branding? Well, you know what happens with iPhones now? People go, oh wait, what's the home? Well, we always use that in our marketing, everything we do. There's my email. Just so you know, if you're gonna send me an awesome deal or send me something like, there's like 4 people in my email all day, every day. So someone else is gonna be reading it or looking at it. But it's good. There's my, who's a girl dad? Anybody in here? I didn't really, not necessarily know or not know first parent. I was like, oh, sports is over, life is over, all that stuff with my oldest Evelyn. If you know her, she is a huge Razorback fan. And in COVID, you know how the Razorback basketball stadium was only 20%. Well, we were in there and a lady walked over and was like, your daughter's passionate about the Razorbacks. So she could hear her yelling, which is pretty fun. So good. And I just listed a couple of things and we'll kind of get into companies. But so entrepreneur. So one thing I would challenge you, if you look out in the parking lot, there's these 2 plastic things. They're called the easy sign. I invented those. So hopefully you'll resonate and you'll see things where people go, wait, how did you do that? Just so you know, a lot of things have just been happenstance or luck. So when I was buying this building, and maybe if you've done it, you go around the back, there was about 40 wood signs falling over. Susan, some of them are here, right? So falling over, some of them were 20 years old. And I go, oh my gosh, there's got to be a better solution to this. The wood rots, you can't use it again. Someone has to make an IKEA sign. Who would have thought that? How easy is that? And I was like, there's definitely one out there, and realized there wasn't. So my background, just so you know, I launched Yankee Candle at Walmart. So I moved here for Kraft Foods. So it is a lot of large scale manufacturing. And I said, we have to figure out a way to make one. So it's actually made in the USA. It's made in Prairie Grove. And we can make 166 of those a day. If you've ever attempted, I know Peggy and Susan's team's husband makes these. If you ever make the wood one, it takes 2 days and you have to paint them. We can make 166 a day. So hopefully I plant a seed with you today is to think differently. Who would like to be a billionaire in here? Who would like to have a 100 millionaire? Just so you know, and Grant Cardone like him or don't like him, but I really like how he breaks things down sometimes and says, okay, you want to make $1 million this year, what does it look like? How many apartments do I need to sell? How many syndications do I need to do? How many people do I need to meet? How much coaching do I need to do? And breaks it down per hour. But just, and I'll go through, I was just trying to think through what else would be. We'll go through. So this is our ecosystem today, just so you know, in different pieces. And I don't own 100% of all of them, depending on what it is. So for instance, you go through, so this building, I had in my notes, some of you have heard this story, but I do like sharing it, because if you're maybe a new investor, you think of that ground up lease. I don't know about you, but I came from a place, I have amazing parents, I love them. But they both worked in government work, and I think they never thought about the word million. Who's with me on that, maybe? Maybe you're, first generation, you think about that, you see people on TV and all that, and they're like, there's always a ceiling sometimes put on you. You guys with me? Where someone just doesn't know you can do that. So this building is one of Duley properties. So this building that we're in right now was owned by the prior Keller Williams owners, and they were looking to exit some of their properties. They exited the one in Johnson and they exited this one. So I was one of our largest agents in the residential side growing up in this market center. I started as a single agent in Valentine's Day 2016. So left corporate America. And just so you know, why did I leave corporate America? I learned that the top 1% in the world, 24% of their portfolio is in real estate. So I knew I wanted to be in real estate. So you guys are in the right room. So I started here and I saw the sign out there that said for sale. And I said, wait a minute, I'm becoming one of our biggest agents and someone else is going to own our building. Who's been there before? just, I would challenge all of you today, when you see that for sale sign, or you see that we were talking about the one we were hammering in. So I said, my wife, I told her, we're buying the building. Wait, what are you talking about? It's what, so it's listed at 1.6, you know, what does it do the deal? I'll do the deal for you guys, right? Is that a dollar deal for dollars, whatever? But it's listed for $1.6 million. And I said, my wife's like, we've got to come up liquid. What does your mind go? 320,000, 20% down, doesn't it? Just so you know, I would challenge all of you today to not do that anymore. Any good deal or any deal, you don't need that. So I went to them and I said, hey, I'm thinking about continuing to be a leader at Keller Williams. I'd like to buy the building, but I'd like to owner finance the down payment. Would you do that? Yeah, of course. So it was listed for about over 6 months. No one had ever asked him, and it never moved. What else am I? I'm a licensed agent. So I became the buyer's agent. So I got paid $55,000 to buy the building. So I've never really put a dime in there. I've had one HVAC, knock on wood, I've had them replaced. But just so you know, I have a $1.6 million building that I've received 5 offers on this building, and it's not for sale. This is a really good location. If you guys didn't know, the Waltons just bought 160 acres right behind this building. And I've heard they're going to rezone this to 4 stories or higher. So real estate is luck and opportunities, but sometimes it's just asking. So I would challenge you today, one day, if I think about my genius, if you will, I no limits, and I always ask. But I was just looking through. So Keller Williams, really quick. So we have 331 agents today. A lot of people didn't know that, and we are in Stillwell, Oklahoma now today. So we added Century 21, 5 agents came over to us there. And then we acquired Ward Jones, which was there for 34 years in Silent Springs. And then we just acquired Thrive Real Estate in December. So we've done some acquisitions with independents. Right now, that's happening a lot. If you hear about real estate, lawsuits and all that stuff is in their mind. And they're going, I don't have the right E&O, am I exposed? And they can make more money and have less risk in our model. But 331 agents, and we're in 7 offices in Northwest Arkansas. We are, one thing we really want your help with is not be called a residential broker. So just so you know, who likes working with residential agents? Nobody should raise their hand. We are in the process with Susan and Melissa Lee and Kayla and other people's leadership. We have about 39 people that have raised their hand. They're going to go through extensive training to be commercial Keller Williams agents. So we're pretty excited about that. So I think that's going to be good. Now, is it going to be perfect every day? No, but we just would think through that. We really want to make sure, and just so you know, a lot of it is education. And that's why we love that you guys are here all the time and learning, that our people are learning. If we can make our agents better, they're going to make more money and hold more deals together and help you guys in the long term. I do have a PNC insurance, which is North Star Insurance Group. Hopefully you realize I'm not really that smart, but I learned if I can be at the center of the ecosystem. So 2020 caused this. So whenever someone came to me and said, I'm staying in my house for 20 years. If I was just a residential real estate agent, could I help them? Probably not. But what is, if you didn't know, insurance premiums gone up 28% in most places. Can I help them? Yes. Obviously, we can get them quoted. We're a brokerage, so we shop about 48 insurance companies. Tom runs our mortgage organization, which is pretty cool, and that's Veris Pinnacle. So when someone in 2020 said, I want to refinance, if I'm a real estate agent, can I help them? No. See, you're hopefully realizing a theme. Whenever someone comes to them, we say, how can we help you? Well, we have a lot of the ecosystem in one place to be able to do that, and that's been a win. One thing I did not add on here is 1200 North College, and I want to share that with you guys really quick. So we bought in Fayetteville, if you know where Rick's Bakery is, right behind it is 1200 North College. Marcus Wick renovated that building. If you've been around a long time, it used to be a hair salon back in the day. But Red Bud Wheat Company was going to buy that building. Do you remember the law didn't pass? So obviously they had a fully furnished building, ready to go, renovated. And we always said we were in Fayetteville, but technically we were in Johnson. So what we did is we actually did our first syndication within Keller Williams. So think about this. A lot of brokerages are not doing this. We invited everyone that's a Keller Williams agent. I think we did actually here in our Bentonville building. And we said, we're going to buy this building. The ownership group, which I own 45% of Keller Williams, could have just done it ourselves. But we did, and hopefully you realize, is we opened it up to our world to get larger together. And we allowed every agent to buy a share, either one or as many as they want, 10,000 a share. So if you think about you and getting your investment journey, most people can't come up with $1 million, 500 right away. So we allowed our agents to get in the game. So think about it, when you're advising a client, they're like, hey, I want to buy a short-term rental. And they're like, how many properties do you own? Well, now they're an investor. So we have 40 investors in that Fayetteville building that own, and we kick out about $3,200 a month in profit every month. So we have a space for our Fayetteville agents and a wing, so it's pretty cool. So that's $1,200 North College. Trying to think if anything else was cool or different. Oh, go on. So the only reason I just wanted to kind of show you.
See Rogers location coming online.
Our Rogers location hopefully is about April 1st is our plan. And I'm okay telling you, maybe just that'll be another one that'll be up here. So just hopefully you realize from my story is just ask. Is that fair? A lot of times we're taught, oh, I can't ask that question. I can't. So we're actually leasing part of the Rogers, and I asked the ownership group, hey, we're going to do this lease with you. We want to explore owning it. So we're looking at owning about 7% of it. So how many times have we done a lease and not asked to own the building? I just want to hopefully get you guys thinking differently. Because a lot of times just ask, and that would be actually owner finance, 0 down. Are you seeing that creative thing for me going, hopefully? Let's get into some systems. How's that sound? People. Just so you know, if you're building anything, who today right now works on their own? Just raise your hand. Someone a single person? Okay, couple hands, right? Stacey, there you go. But actually not really. Here's the great thing about this room and what you helped us do. Is Waco a partner of mine? Yes. So here's what I want to teach you today is we all have our own board. We all have our own network. We have people that want to work with them. I know we've had an amazing attorney as a guest speaker. Is he part of your network or part of your team? Of course. So before I end up doing any acquisition, any purchase, anything, I actually have my wealth strategist, Simon Pockeris, great guy. He's got everything in-house. I have my banker. I have my attorney. I have my insurance person. And what I've learned from doing that, just so you know, is they don't think the same, do they? Who's ever been in a meeting and your wealth strategist is like, yes, cash out your IRA, let's go get it. Not necessarily. Your attorney's like, wait, are you going to own more than 24%? Let's talk about this. You see what I mean? So imagine having a Zoom with all of them and asking really good questions. Well, how should we structure this? Well, how should it be owned? Who should own it? Is it owned in the trust? How great is that to get that on the front end? So even if you raise your hand and think you're a single person, you're not. You actually have a whole ecosystem. Some of them are just compensated up front. How's that feel? Feel good, David? Feel good? Good, I like it. I got my Florida brother in there. Actually, we're gonna give away $25,000. You guys look like you need more money. What college did I go to?
University of Arkansas.
Florida State.
Who said that? There you go, Florida State, singing about Florida, so.
I didn't even know that, I guess.
It's prime Deion Sanders and I, friend, right? Number 2, I wanted to share with you is you think about everything that you do. Is there something at your culture or at your heart that's charity? I don't know about you guys, but one thing 2020 caused me to do when I think about companies is whenever someone came to me in a charity, how many times does someone come up and my daughter's raising money for X? And you said no. That happens a lot, doesn't it, to all of us? You know, like, hey, it's a kiss a pig and we need $20,000. You're thinking the wrong way. In 2020, we said yes to everything. So we gave every year since then, we've given about $100,000 to charity. So one of them, which I'm really proud of, was really cool, was Sheepdog. Who's familiar with them? They actually renovated. We used partners, Constellation Properties. We used all these people and renovated their kitchen and inside. But if someone said, hey, I need $200,000, what does our brain do? Well, I don't really have $200,000. So in 2020, it caused us to think differently with charities. Well, hey, do you have a Venmo account set up? Do you know a lot of charities in 2020 didn't have Venmo? They didn't have a way to take money from a different currency than just a donation of a check. Well, if they weren't meeting face to face, how are they receiving revenue? So sometimes you have a skill that can help a charity. Usually the dollars does help, but I'll give you one example that we did. Mercy Hospital, what was happening to all the nurses and all the doctors? They weren't eating, they weren't sleeping, they weren't doing all that stuff. So we crowdsourced, and some of you in the room helped, and thank you for that. So we set up our own Venmo, and we received money. We set up a Facebook page, and we delivered to fire departments, to all those things. But why I want to share that is that was our culture, and that was our company, and that was our team. So remember, back to Keller Williams, God, family business, we lean in. And I just want to share with you, I'm actually on our KW Cares board nationally. And I might just pass this around. It's annual report if you wanted to. So if you think about organizations, did you know Keller Williams gives the most money to our associates than anyone else in the world? We've given $63 million to our Keller Williams Associates. Did you know that? We're not telling our story enough. And that's something I think that's really, really important to do. So Friday, if you want to come, it's optional to everyone. We're going to do a bago tournament. We're going to have a potluck. We're going to wear our green from 11 to 4 here at this building. So have you ever seen a company, I don't know you guys, when I worked at corporate America, it's like, come use my building, hang out, have a beer. That's who we are. We want people, if you ever need to use one of our conference rooms for a meeting or anything, anytime, any one of our 7 offices you can use. We've even used our Rogers one before, right? Hopefully we're going to use our new Rogers one. Yeah. We'll go on to the next one. Whose charity resonated with anybody? So these are, and online here, it's okay?
Yeah, I think so. It shows
Okay.
the audio is good.
Yeah.
If you guys have any questions, feel free to type in the
Yep.
chat. We can get to it later.
And my family, see up there at the top, we actually did make a wish, which if you didn't know, granting a wish is $10,000. And that was really cool. And a lot of that is just crowdsourcing. And I would tell you, if you have kids, I don't know about you guys, but we live here and we're blessed in Northwest Arkansas. I really worry, and I use this word, it's not strategic, but I say I don't want my kids to be turds. I don't know about you guys, if you know those kids that are turds, so my wife and I talk about it all the time. The first time they ever go, oh, we're not sitting in those seats, or we're not doing this, last game we go to or whatever, is I want to remind them too, hey, you're blessed, and you got to pay it forward. So every time I can, I'm bringing my kids to something. So I would just challenge you guys in that way too. If they can experience that and see that, it's going to be big.
Question on that, you have the Duley Family Foundation, so
I do.
is that, how is that tied to these other events?
Yeah.
That's separate.
And here's, just so you know, I did not have it all figured out at all. A couple books, and I didn't say this and I'll add this. I have a goal to read 52 books this year. I think I've done 8. You know, so I'm not trending, I'm thinking 2 weeks behind. If you look at it, it's 1 a week basically. But Tax-Free Wealth, if you have not done that by Tom Wheelwright, is a really good book. So some of these things, just so you know, I by no means, I had it up there, I do not have it figured out. The people that work with me every day, I'm a mess every day. But one thing I do is I just do it. So I do it and go, okay, that wasn't perfect. Let's go over here. I just do it. I just keep moving forward. But I think books, oh my gosh, someone else has already gone through the problem, the hassle and all that stuff and learn from them. So Tom Wheelwright is a really good one. So the foundation, I have a wealth strategist, Simon's his name. We're kind of working through what that looks like as far as, so who thinks they want to be a family office in 10, 20 years or whatever, or knows what that is. So just so you know, I have no idea what that was. Just so you know, you're all a family office. And I think what happens is our brain always goes, that's 100 million or more, obviously in net worth. But really, there's no one ever said it's 100 million net worth, really, you know? So I'm attempting to treat our organization, our family, like a family office. So I'm building that, whatever that is, or whatever that looks like as a family office. So now, whenever you get to the point, you know, people say, I'm going to give when I have a lot of money. Well, no, you're not, because you didn't give throughout the process. It's just at different increments. So when I'm building the family office, and that's what he's talking about, the foundation, you can run a lot of things from taxes through that organization. So that's our vision. That's what we're working on. So legacy, I would just tell you, was not one of my words, but I did a call with someone yesterday. Who's a Garth Brooks fan here?
Oh yeah.
Love Garth Brooks. Have you seen his Prime Video episode on his new bar? It's not called, this is hit me. It's not called Garth Brooks Bar. What's it called? What's his #1 song in the world?
Low Places.
Low Places. He said that's gonna outlive My Name and Me, that song. It made me think, and it made me think about you guys when you think about legacy. So that's some of the things that we're thinking about is how do you give? So one of the charities that we give to is the Children's Hospital. Well, one of the rooms was donated by us, which is kind of cool. Well, that's not going anywhere, is it? They're just expanding those things. But also strategic giving, I would just challenge you too to think about that. Is that branding? Is that letting people know we're part of the community? So if you're online, we're only at #2. We got 27 more of these to go. I had in here dream. I went through this exercise, and if anyone wants to, I can get you this afterwards. Jordan Freed is a really good coach, and he actually had us do a 10-year letter. Do you know you underestimate what you can do in 5 years and overestimate what you can do in 1 year? Who's with me on that?
Yeah.
Brian, you're the same way. Think about it. Remember, I think that's your father-in-law, right? So see, he's told a lot of great things about you, so I'm excited to meet you and have you here. You talk, hey, I don't know if I'm gonna butcher this, but in my brain it was like, I'm not ready to invest, whatever you talk to your father-in-law, and you strategically together as a family move stuff forward. you probably never estimated where you're at today, you have this many doors, did you? Right, you know. So the 10-year letter is a really good thing, and I would challenge all of you, all it is, if you want to do it tonight, is just write down where you are in 10 years and think about it. So hopefully you realize, am I in the places that I want to be? Gary Keller says you can be anywhere you want to be in 5 years. And I believe that. So dream, I just more want to say that out there. So for instance, who wants to own, do you know we'll probably have a hockey team, we'll have a baseball team. All that is coming. Do you know we're Austin? If you do not believe that, you're in the wrong place and you pay attention. And that's also some of it's luck. Passion. Do I hopefully seem like I'm passionate about what I'm doing? I would tell you I was not passionate about some of the other things. No dang on Yankee Candle. But I do not like candle. I don't really burn them. I'm not really a candle guy. I was like, hey, smell these different scents. That wasn't my jam. This is my jam. Putting cool things together and helping people win at a high level is a lot of fun. So one of my first agents, Mick Roach, if you ever met him, he's awesome. He never envisioned in his life he'd be able to have a beach house, 2 investment properties and all those things. It's just thinking differently. So because I had him think differently, now he's experiencing that with his family. His family goes down to Galveston, they're at their beach house, and now they're about to 1031 that beach house and the 3 properties in Fayetteville for future college students. Is that legacy? Pretty cool. And I would just back on that real fast, even when you change the thing. I would just say, ask yourself what you're doing today, right now. If you love it and it's your jam, and most of you do because you're here on a what's tonight? Tuesday nights, away from your families. So it is something you love, but I would just challenge you in that way is to get in the zone where you really are your genius. Because you're gonna have fun and you're gonna be good at it. And don't limit yourself. And then the one I wanted to share on this, if you think about systems, is what happens right now. I don't know about you guys, and I wrote down creative. Just so you know, the people that are winning in real estate at a high level are creative. So I'll give you examples, syndicators as an example, right? So think about it, Brian, a 210 apartment complex you're gonna do in Rogers is exciting. Most people would go, oh, how do I do that? I'm never gonna do that. Their brain, their mindset comes, it can't happen. But you know what? You crowdsource and you do these things now and you think differently. And now you're like, hey, how do I do the future Austin? How to have a 2,000 unit apartment complex? There's going to be one here. So it's thinking differently. So I would challenge you guys, don't have limitations on your life. One of the things back to this building, if you ever went before, it was old wood. It was like an old 1970s doctor's office. But we didn't have limitations. We said, we're going to figure out a way. And we basically worked with the bank and they basically did a renovation. We're paying nothing on basically, right? So see, there's no limits on that. 6, what are you doing? Networking. You're all here. We don't do anything alone. And I think that's one of the skills that I wanted to share with you when we think about it. So right now, what if we wanted to be a $10 billion brokerage in Northwest Arkansas? Could we? Who thinks yes? Yeah, Steve, I'm giving you another
Definitely believe you.
How would we do that? Well, not limit ourselves. So right now, if you didn't know from an MLS perspective, there's 3708 agents. What if I had every single one of them? Would I be a $10 billion brokerage? Yes, of course. You know this marketplace is about this under 10% market share, and we're to do $1 billion every year. So if I wanted to be at $10 billion, what do I need to do? What's today? Systems. I need to increase our systems, but not necessarily all agents. So hopefully you're realizing this. In the beginning, most brokerages said, here's my headquarters and here's my office. What have we done? Who thinks 7 Brew has a really good job? What are they doing? They're getting their stores and their places in other footprints. Think about other companies. What did Netflix do? They got in your home, didn't they? So if you're working with real estate people and you're like, crap, I'm looking at this chicken farm in Siloam. I don't want to go all the way back to Rogers and print my paperwork or meet a client. Boom, we got an office in Siloam. If you're like, oh, I'm in Eureka, I'm looking at a short-term rental on the lake. I don't want to go all the way back to Bentonville. Boom, we added an office in Eureka. So hopefully you're realizing we're meeting the people where they are. That's kind of our vision. So it's 10 billion. Do you think that can occur? Of course. And I would just say mindset. You have to believe in it. But you have to have really good partners to do that in network. So how can I become 10 billion in 1 month? If I wanted to do it this March, is it possible? Who thinks yes? Okay, not that many people. So you guys are all limiting yourself. Are properties selling at $9 billion in the world? Who says yes?
Yes.
Yes. So could we strategically work with an agent? Here's the great thing about Keller Williams. There's 175,000 agents in North America alone. Could we have The Waltons, for instance, say, hey, I'm just making this up, but they did just spend how much of getting rid of Russell Wilson? Right? Bad joke, too soon. Just so you guys know, they have the capital. So just so you know, any deal has a buyer. Would you guys agree with me on that? Is that thinking differently? But we have to plant our seeds, and I would just tell you, one thing I do as a girl dad, when my daughter says, I could never do this, that's not a word that works in our household, really. I want to coach her through it and say, okay, what would it look like? And I'll give you one example. Who's a Jesse Itzler fan? So you have to say now, Sarah Blakely's his wife, but really he was more famous at the beginning. But she started Spanx. So they're awesome, and I love them. He said this, and maybe you want to write this down. Just write the word 18 minutes. You can be 95% better than anyone in the world at a certain skill if you did it for 18 minutes every day. Well, that's snackable, isn't it? So I told my daughter that. She wanted to be a starter on our basketball team. I went out to the parking lot or to our driveway, and she had on her phone 36 minutes. I said, no, honey, 18 minutes. And she said, well, I want to be 99% better than anyone in basketball. See, that's legacy, isn't it? Networking. I would just tell you, and a lot of people say, be the mayor in your town. Well, that doesn't necessarily mean in Bentonville. That means in your ecosystem, in your world. Brian, congrats to you, man. I think you've been mayor in commercial real estate at a big time and doing it at the right way. I think you don't have to be here. You're giving it forward and paying it forward your knowledge, which I think goes a long way in the fabric of what we're doing. So I would challenge all of you to be the mayor in whatever you're doing. You're a video guy, we talk, right? We're sharing our Walker Brothers shirts. But be the mayor of photography. If that's what you're passionate about and that's what you're good about, who do you think is doing it better than you? And 7, I was starting to say this, but I just want to make sure I share something with you. I think I've had some success in some areas because I do this. I have a 24-hour rule. If you didn't know, I taught principles of real estate at the University of Arkansas for a couple of years, which was a lot of fun. So I taught them this skill, the 24-hour rule. How many times, who wrote something down and thought, okay, it was okay today? Regina, did you write something down that was kind of good? Here's what happens. We all write something down, and then where does that notebook go? In your car, and it's got dust on it, and you pull it 6 months later, and like, oh, I remember that funny little guy, Mike, he said the little story, and you didn't do anything. So I have a 24-hour rule. So whatever you think you want to implement from what we talked about, go ahead and put it on your calendar right now. So one of the systems that I do is I email my executive assistant. Maybe it's Brian and I want to get a coffee with Brian and I. Perfect example. What a great board that you had of the bankers. I thought that was awesome. And I realized Kelly and I have been friends over the years, and I realized I haven't reconnected with him. So immediately when I was in the room, I emailed him, and I'll actually go one step further. I actually didn't email him that night. In iPhones, you could have it send at 8 a.m. the next day. So I emailed him and my executive assistant, and I set up a coffee. Within 7 days later, we had a coffee. Might that be part of my network? Might he be someone that really moves my organization forward? You guys know what I'm talking about? Kelly Carson is great. He's awesome. So see that 24-hour rule? I did that email then. So I'll just tell you, you have to do it. Hopefully none of you quit your job tonight, but if the 24-hour rule is something you need to do, I'll just tell you. And I think about systems, one of the ones I'm most passionate about. So 7 is my lucky number. That's a system. Hopefully you guys know that you have that. But implement fast is really important. Here's what happens sometimes. We overanalyze stuff, don't we? Colin Powell says if you have 70% of the information or more, you act. And that's been really important to me. He also says if you have 30% of the information or more, you do nothing. If you think about that, I don't have enough information to make a decision. That's maturity. Okay. And 8, I have failed. You know, we had that little thing on there just so you know. I have had a staging company. I have had a residential property management company. I could go through a list of like 10 things that have not worked. But one of the things that I've added in is kind of a litmus test. So I had a really good coach, Gene Rivers, and some of you have met him, he's awesome. He said, figure out a number. So my number now is, it has to make me in the year 250,000 or more, or I don't do it. So think about that in your business and everything you're doing. So staging company, it sounds really cool, doesn't it? Let me tell you, labor, you got to worry about insurance. Vehicles, you got to worry about crashing. You got to have 6 storage units of inventory. And really incrementally, how many listings are you really getting? So those are analytics. So you're maybe making $200, but you're really losing about $400 just for the having them. So noise, definitely write this word down. The business you want to think about, this is what I love what Brian and you guys are doing. Passively, to me, is no noise. So I have a word, noise. What I mean is a lot of employees, or a lot of people, or a lot of toilets and trash and all that stuff, isn't it? That's no noise when you give your money and let the money work for you. 9, my first year in real estate, I actually went to 13 different conferences, not in Northwest Arkansas. So how much are you investing in yourself? I got educated really quickly. For sure. I was learning from people in Arizona that were doing things. So I was able to look at people when they're failing and say, well, I don't want to do that. Let me take in the information. Now I still failed 90 times, but I was able to speed up my learning curve. So here's what happens, just so you know, and mostly in residential real estate as an example. You start, and a lot of people use the word, let's help you cap, which means you're going to do about 1.7 or $2 million in volume. But I had a really good coach that said, what do you think about if you did 100 million in your first year? What would that look like? I did not do 100 million, but I did 47.2. Is that bigger than 2 million? No ceiling. 10, coaching. Who's got a coach? So right now in my organizations, we spend over $10,000 a month in coaches. Is that important? Do I believe it's important? Almost everyone in our leadership team has a coach. Now, here's another thing. If you don't have a coach, do you do podcasts? Do you do books? Are you learning? Are you doing YouTube videos? Well, that's a coach. Just so you know, whatever you're bringing in, and I had a mentor say this, Gary Keller said this. He said his wealth coach is Warren Buffett. He's never met him before, but he's consuming his information because he believes he's great in that area. Now he said he's not my marital coach. So he said I have a coach for different areas in my life. And I think that's something for you to think about is who do you want to model yourself after? So one of the things that I want to be known as is a great dad. And I think that's important too. So my kids, I am talking to them about everything. Last night I was coaching with my daughter, just saying, she's like, how did I do? You know, she really wants to be a starter in basketball. That lesson, just so you know, will never leave her. Just so you know, thinking about how do you make a starting role in a team? How do you do that in life? How many of you wanted a promotion, or you wanted a job, or you wanted something?
Keep going.
Hey, okay. I get a couple bonus ones. I would tell you too, life is not easy. Who would agree with that? It is. So I had a God on here too. I think you have to be your own God or whatever that has. Take a deep breath and just say, hey, thank you for the blessing. So I said a lot of time, moving here was the greatest blessing in the world for me. This place, and I so I'm from Miami, Florida, if you didn't know this. When I was 13, one of my classmates had a knife to his neck getting on our bus. We don't experience that here. You know, we have to remind ourselves of that. So I thank God all the time for that. And I think family. So you guys are family. So family is not only just in your own internal family, but your business family, or you're thinking about that. And I want to add one more I'd add on grace. You need to give yourself grace. These last, call it, 9, 12 months, Tom knows he's been in with me some. Haven't been great in real estate, some haven't. It's you have all those challenges. But the good and the best get creative and they win. Kind of what I got for you today. I brought these. Who said, is he ever going to talk about this? I just wanted to show you everything is system. And thank you for asking me to be the system person. I am the system person, I think. So this has on it relentless. So one thing that I've seen throughout my 8 years in real estate is I just put goals out there, but I wasn't relentless in making sure that I accomplished my goals. So this year I'm relentless. So 52 books. I actually have shared that now with my kids. Their goal is 24 books. I don't know about you, but I've never read 24 books in my life. And now I have my 11-year-old, my 7-year-old talking about, hey, I've read 2 books. I've read 3 books. That hopefully will never leave them. That's legacy building. So what I do here, so this one says beach house. In my 10-year letter, my wife's happy place is her toes in her sand. Who else is with me? 30A. You see those 30A stickers? That's like the happiest place. So what I do is this is all about contacts. So every day, how many contacts am I making? Just so you know, any business you're in is all about belly to belly, and it's all about communication. So this is right in front of me every day. I think we're going to do hard questions, aren't we?
Yeah. Q&A. We shall start. I have a question. So time management, how you do it? That's always, especially with all the companies you have.
I'm going to teach you a little trick. So when I first started, I did 90-minute coffee meetings. Who's with me? You probably do them. You meet with an agent, you're like, 60, 90 minutes. I actually do most of my meetings in 15 minutes. You can actually accomplish the same thing that a 90-minute. Here's what happens. Say we're meeting for the first time and we don't have a good chemistry or whatever. Awesome guy, like The first 5 minutes, you know whether you're gonna add value to each other. So you got 90 minutes of a coffee with somebody that maybe they're not interested in me, so now they're usually 15 minutes. So before I even do a coffee, they're usually on the phone first. And I actually make a lot of people meet me here in my office. How many times who's done a coffee meeting with the other person didn't show up? It wasn't on my calendar, I forgot, my kid's sick and all that stuff. Well, from here, I can keep working and then I can meet them. So that's a system. Obviously, too, if you do not have an executive assistant, I would recommend first a cyberbacker. Who's had a cyberbacker before? A virtual assistant. High level, just so you know, they're about $1,500 a month and you get 40 hours a week from that. What would that look like in scaling your business?
Good stuff.
So everything I do about 14, 15 things a day.
Mhm.
So
Anybody else has questions before I ask more?
Are you reading, so what are you, 8 books so far?
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive. How are you allocating that time a day? Are you speed reading or what's your?
I'm doing both, and I just want to show you guys. So I actually have a shared notes page, which is my 2024 goals. Who do you think shared with that? Does anyone remember earlier in my talk? My financial advisor, my wealth strategist, my attorney, my banker, my wife, my kids. Are we all one team? If I accomplish my goals, they accomplish their goals. So if you have not done this, make sure you're sharing your goals. There was a Harvard Business Review journal done about writing down your goals and having them. Where they didn't go, and I'm adding it now, is sharing it with more people. So some of the books that I've done, and just so you know, I always say success leaves clues. So on this notes page, I was just gonna show you, Doug McMillan, like him or not like him or whatever, I just think how brilliant that he started an organization basically as a cart guy and worked his way up. But he does a screenshot of all his books that he's reading, but several other people. So we talked about Jesse Itzler. See, I success leaves clues. So these are what to read. I actually have them all right there. So I've already read Who, Not How. I love them. Gap in the Game. Come Up for Air. Just so you know, if your organization, and I feel like I am by no means perfect, but right now what happens is I have 711 texts I haven't read. Who would that give a heart attack to? Anybody? So is this my priority or their priority? So when you get your brain around that too, obviously we want to make sure that the right people that we're responding. But I've been blessed in my life. If someone's like, hey, I looked at the MLS and I list no properties barely, that's not my problem, it's maybe one of our agents, I just give that as an example. But they need to take, usually if you don't respond, they'll go ahead and they'll ask someone else or do the MLS and solve. But what happens in this world is we always go, oh, they're texting me, I gotta respond to them. I'm with you guys too. Did anyone say pick up my phone? No, we're present together, so be present. So that's important. I've also reading, so I've added those lists. The breakthrough code, has anyone done that? I love that one. I thought that was really cool. I did Good to Great. That's been around a long while. I might have done it 10 years ago, but I wanted to do it again. One fun fact from that. Do you remember one of the companies that's in Good to Great that's no longer in business?
Blockbuster?
Circuit City. Think about that. So that was considered, and they did these are Fortune 100 companies. That's exactly when I say give yourself grace. We're all gonna make mistakes. So I just give yourself grace. But yeah, I'm always adding whenever I hear one. I'm adding them all the time.
Another question from Marie.
I'll one more thing on books. If you're a podcast guest, so I should add on there. I have duly noted if you guys ever want to listen or want to be a guest. If I can help anyone else with their brain. Stacy sees us. We're recorded every Wednesday right in there. I'd love anyone to be a guest. If you want, let me help you with your brand too. But the books has helped me better with content, with speaking, with all the things, and it helps give me stuff. So Tom is good or bad. He gets a lot of text from me and message from me. I actually do a video text of myself versus a regular text. And I say, hey, I read this or saw this article and it made me think about you. When was the last time you received a video text? Anybody here? Unless it was for me. So just so you know, think about leads, David. Maybe a lead that's not following up. We get so much text and so much email. If you send a video text, I guarantee you're going to get a conversion or response.
You have such an amazing story. Yes, I met you tonight, but I think it was interesting to me just the way you. I wanted to know, how did you manage your transition when you wanted to pivot? Because obviously you were, Walmart and Netflix. how did you make that switch to get to
This
it?
is not strategic. I don't like being alone. So we were talking, Gina and I were talking about it. I like being around people. I like having fun. So I knew I was always gonna have a team. So Mick was, he was a dad, he was a good guy, he came from corporate America. And I was like, let's have fun in real estate together. So one of my actually words is fun. And I didn't have that on. Remember I said I had like 47 of them. I toil with giving you and not going to give it to you. Fun. If you're not having fun at doing this, add a person, add a team member, brainstorm with someone. Just so you know, real estate is so much better with more people because you get a different perspective. When someone first looks at a raw piece of dirt, you might go, what are we going to do with this? I heard Daphne talking about warehouse, and I'm starting to think of other people, and I was like, you know what? A CarMax is going up there, see, because we read articles and we're paying attention. So I might go, what would a CarMax might need close by? They might need their oil change facility that's not for the consumer, but for their own people. They might need their car wash thing. So start to think about those things in real estate. If you put deals together, what else might a CarMax need? They might need the accessory company that sells the rims and does all the things, right? So thinking about the ecosystem. So now your lead generation just changed where you're aggressive than just listening it. Here's what I would say. I'm not in the business of putting signs in yards or houses or buildings. I'm in the business of selling property. So when I go on an appointment, say you didn't have it listing, you went on the appointment, you said, hey, I do my research and I know there's a CarMax 1,700 feet from here. And here's the people I'm going to reach out to. Is that client going to say no to you?
Yep.
It's a slam dunk. So people, this is another thing is, good or bad, if you don't love people, you can't do real estate. Because it takes about 17 people to do a deal. You guys talked about closing in 2023. Well, if everyone knows on the team, here's our goal. Your CPA knows, maybe we're going to 1031, but what are we going to do? Well, that's a win if we're all on one team and you have the right people on the team.
Great.
Beat me up a little bit, somebody, don't be gentle.
No, I'm not gonna be checked, but I have a question regarding, you have so many different organizations. They're all somewhat tied together in concept, in your interests, you're having fun. How do you keep the messaging between them together? Do you have boards that interact? Do you have people on each that work together, or is they truly separate different organizations that?
They're all together. Tom happens to be leading one, he's on it. So a perfect example, he's here, but I text everyone that's a leader of those and everything I do. I'm speaking tonight, great networking event, make sure you're coming. Hey, there's a broker's open out on the lake, make sure you're coming. So I actually make it one organization. But I would tell you guys one thing too. It's a blessing to have all those, but actually as I look about it, I talk about noise. I'm actually strapping my way. So capture marketing is on there. I most recently just merged with Rural. Well, you know what? They have 165 people and they do it a lot better than I do. And was not my passion. And that's not what I was good at. Just so you know, I had 10 employees, salaries, and that's noise and machines. One of our machines is $150,000. So why I say that is my revenue opportunity. So I'm going to share this really quick. So I had 2 good years. They were retiring. And I would have done this better, but I just want to give you this. So the one in Rogers, if you know it, it's on New Hope in 71, been there forever. The family wanted to sell it. The buyer's numbers only made sense at 862. The seller wanted to sell it at $1 million. So what did I do? I actually told the seller, he owned it outright. I said it might make better sense to own or finance part of it, pay the taxes over 5 years, and sell it at $1 million, but owner finance half, so it releases some of their cash from the buyer. Well, that was a win, wasn't it? So the buyer got owner finance 500,000, finance 500,000, so less cash. The seller got $1 million, he got his number, and now he was able to receive the money over 5 years, so he didn't have to pay taxes on the full $1 million. So see, that's a win. But where I was going is, you make more money, in my opinion, in commercial real estate if you're good at it and put deals together. So one syndicate that I'm working on build for rent, they're going to buy 4 sites, 500 townhouses, and then I'll be able to sell it on the exit. So you help each piece of dirt, and then you sell the exit. So that's a strategy, not just thinking about one house that someone's going to live in for 7 years.
I have a follow-up
Yeah.
question, similar piggybacking on what Steve was asking. So how do you choose strategic partnerships within those different companies?
Like the ones that I don't own.
Don't own 100%, yeah.
Yeah, obviously you want to. Trying to think how we do that. a lot of it, I'll tell you, so at Keller Williams, we have an affiliate vendor program, and Caitlin runs that, so I don't have to. But if I had to think about it differently, just so you guys know, it's nice that we own it, but I think it's probably hurt us, like going forward, and Susan or anyone else jump in. I think it's really nice to be what you're good at, sometimes it's a balance. 2020, we were like, hey, how do we own everything? But now it's like, well, we have Pinnacle Title, great organization, but it's like, hey, Waco has as an example, really good brand, they got 9 attorneys, and you can maybe get a deal. So really, I'll give you an example. So I had a deal, the Goodyear, we're tricky. So city, I said, you know what, I gotta make the best decision for the client. And at the time, they were gonna 1031, and Josh is an attorney, so I think you make the decision the best for the client. That maybe helps. So I just say, I can help you, but then I find out what makes sense. It doesn't always have to be our company. Maybe that was. Did that answer? I think whenever you have commission breath on anything, we fail. So if I say, hey, you have to use all our companies, I wouldn't be in business for long. Is that helpful? Anyone agree with that? I would say it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Maybe one or two more questions, and then we'll close here.
I hope this isn't too much about one thing, but this follow-up question. So you've been in real estate for how long, right?
8 years.
Okay, 8 years. So in going and having all of these different things under this umbrella, which is fantastic. Like when you first switched from corporate to real estate, obviously you didn't have all of this going at that particular time. So kind of also coming off the one thing this morning, right? So when you first got into this, how did you kind of focus so that you became that successful in just real estate and then could build on this? Like what advice would you give to someone who was starting out in real estate, just right there, but then wants to build on focusing now? Does that question make sense?
It does. I would say we got early success and we got going really well, and then opportunities started coming to us. So a joint venture is like, hey, we should joint venture, and we were just excited about the opportunity. Here's something else, actually, I'm really glad you asked this question. A lot of the joint ventures, I'm in it for nothing. So here's another thing is when people say, hey, I want to start a company, I don't have $500,000. Some of them is you have the real estate business. So I'm actually providing the lead flow. Some other businesses need the lead flow, so I'm doing that, so that provides the opportunity. But if I had to do it differently, just on my own Duley Group team, so you know my team does about 100 million in the last 3 years, which is pretty good. I would have had it to 200 million and then started the joint venture, because then they feed themselves automatically, and that added a base. So if I had to do it differently, that's what I would have done. But so usually when you get success, and Susan and other people had it, you'll start to get, Brian probably gets 10 vendors a day saying, hey, I want to partner with you. So I think that happens. When they start seeing a business journal and start seeing that, opportunities come to you. And here's what else I would say, and this was in my dream. Tell everyone. So they should know your goals. They should know where you're going and what you want to own. So I told everyone, I want to have a property management company. And then someone else came and we merged that together. Now I'm not in that business. I might get back in that business, but more to come on that. So
Cool, thank you.
Any one last question before we wrap up here?
I would just maybe ask you guys, what's maybe one system or one thing you're gonna take with you? If there was someone wanted to share something hit you in the heart or the head, or you said, you know what, that's cool, I'm gonna use that one.
A lot of things, but I think the 15-minute phone call is good. For timeline.
24-hour rule, I always say, yeah.
Just ask.
That's great. Paul, you okay? You all right? Fine? 100,000 doors together, is that where we're going? No limits. I would just say, think about, so back to real fast, and thank you for the kind word, but Gary Keller, if you don't follow him, I don't care what brokerage you're at, but here's what I would say. He had to ask his dad for $500 for his rent. Who's been there? We've all probably been there, you know? He got divorced. People have been there in their life and they've gone through these life occurrences. But what happens is we always see the end result. We see the billionaire, the author, all those things, but they had to go through the journey. So that's what I love, that he shares the journey. He doesn't say, I'm perfect, follow me. He says, I had to ask my dad for $500. I had to do all those things. And then he says, here's where we're going. So to me, that's someone cool you should follow, you should engage with and say, you know.
What's his name, Gary?
Gary Keller. Yep.
Keller. Oh.
Yeah. Well, and I would tell you, here's what else, back to asking, I email, I text them. Who knows that land, right, Mills Farm? Who knows Mills Farm? I love that location, we talk about deals. Whoever wants to put it together, I'm like dying to do that. It got listed, what was it, about 3 months ago, 4 months ago? That day, I emailed Gary Keller. And I said, hey, I know the perfect piece of property, we should partner together. We'll put a great development together, we'll flip some dirt, we'll get some multifamily, we'll get different pieces. So I just asked, and he's like, let my guy look at it. Then he let his guy look at it, but he's like, it's not the right time for us. But if I would have never asked, I would have never had an opportunity. What if he would have said yes?
What about the 10 acres across the street?
But so back to
Add
asking,
extra
and he
trees.
responds. Here's another thing that I would challenge you too. If you have a mentor, you have someone in your life, just ask. He responds all the time. I email 11 o'clock and I'm like, hey, if you didn't know, Keller Williams followed Walmart's trajectory. So they have a thing called Ink Spot. You know, obviously where Walmarts were going and all that stuff. Gary Keller followed them 40 years ago and said, wow, they're doing some great things. So success leaves clues.
Awesome, thank you so much. Awesome, thank you so much, Mike, for your presentation, and we're just gonna wrap up here. And obviously, you know where to find Mike and his contact information. If you haven't checked in, I do have the form here. Make sure you check in before you leave, so we can email about the next event. And just want to highlight real quick about our next event, which is in April. We will have
Yeah, Nick Bowden, this was like what Mike was talking about, like about who, not how. This was one of the best hires that we made last year. Has a ton of development experience. It could take an Excel spreadsheet and he makes my eyes cross, and like he makes everything very simple for us. Super smart at modeling. So if you're interested in learning out how to underwrite a multifamily deal, whether you're an active investor or passive investor, it's good to know how to analyze that. So he can break it down for us, what goes behind assumptions, what you're looking at for interest rates, what you're looking at for cap rates, how you get into future valuations, today's valuations, how you get to investor returns, and really break that down. So he has a ton of good experience, and really happy that he is part of my team now, and he's going to break down some of these secrets and how to underwrite a multifamily deal next month.
So you mark your calendar and invite a friend. So we're starting at 5 with networking, and I'll do a little more organized networking this time for the April. But yeah, that's the goal. So thank you.
That'll be here, I guess, April 9th. probably.
Yeah.
What we're just saying, just in case it's not ready.
Yeah, we'll just do
We
it
could,
here.
yeah.
Whenever it's live, we're
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
switch to their Rogers location, which is a little more central, because you know, it's a little bit further north for the folks.
And it'll have, it's attached to Rendezvous, so we can move the beers or, you know, before or after. Might make it a little more interesting.
But yeah, this is also live streamed to our Facebook group. Make sure you're part of it if you're not. Northwest Arkansas Commercial Real Estate Facebook group. Yeah, thanks again, guys.